Hey, what's up guys? It's Marf and welcome back to another Asphalt 9 update video. Today I have the patch notes for the West to East and EUROBLOOM seasons update. So we are going to get two seasons with this update. They're going to be called West to East, and the second one is EUROBLOOM. Firstly, I want to say thank you to Gameloft for letting me have a quick peek at these patch notes and pictures that I'm going to share with you guys a bit early. Once the website is updated with the patch notes, I'll link those in the description down below. Before I get into the details, I just want to quickly mention that, as you guys can imagine, the developers are going to mainly be focused on delivering Asphalt Legends Unite later this year in July. So this update is really just going to be a bunch of new cars and events, but nonetheless, let's get right into the new cars. So the first one we have here is the Premier S-Class car, and this is the Zenvo Aurora Tour. This is their new limited hypercar, and it looks pretty sick if I'm being honest. And the stats also look quite sick. I would say the standout is definitely going to be the top speed. Without nitro at max, you're looking at 290 miles an hour. So with nitro, I can imagine you'll barely be scraping that 300 mark. All of the other stats are pretty standard as to what you'd expect for an S-Class car. I am quite disappointed with the nitro efficiency though, considering the other stats aren't super crazy. I would have expected a bit better nitro efficiency for a rank of over 5,000. Again, the top speed isn't that crazy considering we already have the Devil 16 and the Hennessy Venom F5. So while this is definitely going to be a good S-Class car, it isn't going to be the king breaker. Next up, going right all the way down to D-Class, we have the Aston Martin Vantage V12 2022. And just by looking at the stats, you might say, oh, okay, I mean, it's not going to be that crazy and whatnot. But it's actually been quite a while since we've had a really good D-Class car that focuses more on top speed instead of acceleration, handling, and nitro. If you look at all of the new D-Class cars that we've gotten, a vast majority of them are race cars that focus more on acceleration, nitro, or handling, whereas this one has a bigger emphasis on top speed. At max, you're going to go 205 miles per hour, so a bit more with nitro, and while that isn't close to the TVR Griffith, that car has a lot worse stats in some of the other categories, especially in acceleration. So this is going to give you a more well-rounded experience, and while it won't break any records for those top speed tracks, I can imagine that during classic multiplayer, this could actually be very potent. Next up, we have another D-Class car, and this was quite interesting when I saw it. This is the Porsche 911 Carrera RS 3.8, a bit of a retro throwback. And in the yellow, I must say it looks quite beautiful, and I believe this is the car that was the base for the Roof CTR Yellowbird, the original car that went, I think, like over 200 miles an hour, which is sick. So I don't know if this is a nod to Roof, because they could have just added the Roof car anyway, but nonetheless, it's cool to see a retro car in the game. I really hope they add more of these. Either way, taking a look at the stats is not going to reveal anything too crazy. I mean, you can look at the rank and the fact that the blueprints aren't gold, they're purple. So don't expect anything too crazy from this car. I will say it has like okay top speed for its rank, but a lot of the other stats are quite underwhelming, and this is definitely just going to be a nice to have car instead of something that you're really going to want to use for the meta, especially in multiplayer or events. Now, taking a look at this next car, you might think that I photoshopped a picture of a shark on screen, but that's not in fact what's happened. This is the FV Frangivento Asfane. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, along with the other FV Frangivento that we have in the game. But this is one of the most unique designed cars I have seen in a very long time, and it has some respectable stats to back it up. This is not going to be an A-Class king, but it should sit somewhere around the Genty Aquilon if my calculations are correct. But it does have pretty decent acceleration, handling, and nitro. In terms of top speed, you're looking at around 230, which is the same as pretty much every other A-Class car, so this may be pretty good for classic multiplayer if you can get your hands on it at max. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry too much about this car other than the fact that it looks really awesome. Moving on to yet another crazy design, this is the Lamborghini SC63, and I believe this is their Le Mans hybrid car, which is awesome to see in the game, and of course it looks just as epic. So this is an interesting car because you can see the acceleration at 85 is well above a lot of the other stats. So this is obviously going to be another B-Class car that focuses on acceleration, handling, and a bit of nitro, although it is definitely nowhere near other cars like the Huracan. The top speed is pretty respectable for a B-class car that really has an emphasis on that agility side, but its overall rank is going to sit somewhere around the Aston Martin DBS Superleggera, so not a king, but this is going to be very good in multiplayer if we're just going off the stats, and you might just want to play with this car based on the look alone. And last but certainly not least in terms of design, we have the De Tomato P900, or well, I'll say the De Tomaso P900. And this is actually the track focused version of the P72 that we already have in game. It takes everything from that car and turns it up to 11. Is what I would say if it were ranked that way, but as you can see, it is going to be put in C class, which in my opinion makes 0 sense. Now, it's going to be pretty good in C class, but it's not even ranked above the Aranera Hasaria, so it's not going to be a king apparently. I will say the two standouts would be the acceleration and maybe handling, but also the nitro seems decent for a C class car. But honestly, I'm gonna just try and go for this based on the design alone. Unfortunately, in the pictures that Gameloft provided, we didn't get a picture of what the rear looks like. So I'm gonna grab a picture from their website and give it to you guys on screen now, because holy guacamole does this car look awesome. All right, so now that we're done taking a look at the new cars, let's take a look at all of the events and the details. So the first season that we will get is the West to East season, and going through all the events, we firstly have a Gameloft anniversary event that will focus on the Bugatti Chiron. Then we'll have another celebration of a anniversary with the Ford Mustang 60th anniversary. This will be a time limited event. And of course, as every Earth Day, we will have another event, this time focused on the GT by Citroën, which is definitely nice because I want more blueprints for that car. Next up for the Golden Week, we're going to have a focus on Nissan with pretty much all of the Nissan cars returning in that event. And we will also have another overclock showcase, so you can get some free overclock chips in case you ran out. Now, I didn't mention this earlier because it was, well, revealed later in the patch notes, but the Legend Pass car is going to be that Porsche 911 Carrera RS, and that will of course make its debut in the showcase time limit event, and that will feature the Carrera RS 3.8. In terms of car and key hunts for the first season, we are going to have the return of the 599XX Evo, the Ford GT Mark II, and we're also going to have the McLaren 600 LT, which is awesome to see. Now, in my opinion, the most exciting car hunt to look forward to is the Aston Martin 177. So those are all the daily events. In terms of special events, we're going to have the debut of the FV Frangivento Asfani, and that's going to run for about 2 weeks. And the supporting cars for that are going to be the 765 LT, the Mercedes AMG GT Black Series, the Porsche 911 GT2 RS Club Sport, and the Lamborghini SC63, but all of the key cars in that event are going to be free try. We're also going to get a Korean food special event, and this is going to be jam, packed with treats. My god, these patch notes. But we're going to have the return of some cars like the Renault RS01. The Pagani Zonda R will have a special hunt, which is nice, and this says that no support cars are required. In terms of Grand Prix events, it seems like this season may only have one, and that will be the Lamborghini SC63. Alright, so moving on to the second season in the update, and that will be the EUROBLOOM season. We'll start with all the time-limited events, and first up we're going to have a Draco GTE TLE, which is nice to see that car come back. We'll also have a Cinco de Mayo featuring the Rimac Nevera. There's also going to be a Porsche event that features a lot of Porsche cars, including the 911 GT1 Evolution, the 718 Cayman GT4 Club Sport, and the Porsche Taycan Turbo S. I guess Gameloft wants to celebrate bees for some reason, and that event will feature the Koenigsegg Regera, Vanda Electric's Dendrobium, and the Apollo IE. Of course, for that season, there's going to be more overclock and showcase time-limited events, but the Legend Pass car for that is still going to be that Porsche I talked about earlier, which will get another event in the form of another showcase time-limited event. But in terms of car and key hunts, which will come in chronological order, we're first going to see the Porsche Panamera Turbo S, then the Acura NSX GT3 Evo, then we'll get the Donkervoort D8 GTO Individual Series, and finally with the McLaren Senna GTR. Now, what I was also surprised to read is that for the De Tomaso P900, that car will have its own car hunt. So a new car with a car hunt, that's pretty nice to see. And finally, in terms of events, we have special events for this second season, and it will kick off with the Zenbo Aurora Tour, and that will actually have 2 dedicated special events. there will be 2 stages. The first one will feature the car at max with free tries, which is awesome. And then I assume the second part will be a more standard event, but we don't have any details quite yet. The Tech Rules 1896 track version will also come back, and the support cars for that event will be the Genti Aquilon, the Porsche 935, Ferrari LaFerrari Aperta, and the Pagani Huayra BC. The last car that I've left out in terms of new cars has been the Aston Martin Vantage V12 2022, and that will come in the form of the Grand Prix in this second season. Now, it is also revealed here that the Vantage is going to be a special required car for the Zenvo Aurora Tour special event that I featured earlier. Last but not least, we do have some overclock adjustments. It will be switched to a 24-hour format, which is so nice to finally see, rather than fixed timers. And we will also see some more duration options for the overclock chips. And that is it in terms of changes in the patch notes. As I mentioned earlier, the devs are probably very focused on ironing out everything for Asphalt Legends Unite, so it makes sense that we aren't seeing a whole bunch of changes in this update. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this patch notes video. Let me know what you guys think of the new cars in the comment section down below. A lot of these are quite interesting, and of course, if you want to follow me on social media, you can click the links in the description down below. I have a Discord where you can chat with me all the time, and an Instagram where I post a lot of cool car photos. Alright guys, that's been it from me. I'll see you guys later.